Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to dive into the history of Twitter,
Oh, yeah.
from its humble beginnings all the way to, the current state as X.
Right.
And to help us navigate this whole thing, we have Kurt Wagner's book, N.W. Battle for the Bird.
Yes.
And this book really focuses on the kind of clashing visions of Jack Dorsey
Yes.
and Elon Musk.
Yeah, this is a story full of twists and turns for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're talking about power struggles and some pretty controversial choices.
Yeah.
And these two really outsized personalities who left a mark on a platform that's, I mean, let's be honest, the kind of a global phenomenon at this point.
A global phenomenon for sure. And the book dives deep into Dorsey's background.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the guy went from drawing to coding to, for a while there, driving city buses.
Wow.
Yeah, and even as a kid, he was fascinated by systems, like how things moved and connected.
I see.
And he actually built this early project visualizing police and fire truck locations on a map. Almost like a proto-Twitter for emergency response.
Interesting.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating is how Dorsey's path almost foreshadows Twitter itself.
Yeah.
That early project wasn't just about the code.
Right.
It was about tracking real-time information flow in a complex system.
Sounds familiar, right?
Yeah.
It's like he was meant to build this platform, for that what's happening now conversation.
It really is mind-blowing when you think about it that way, but the book makes it clear that Dorsey's leadership wasn't always smooth sailing.
Right.
He had this kind of Zen-like approach to things.
Okay.
Really prioritizing product over profits.
Yeah.
And that sometimes clashed with, the realities of running a company.
Right.
And he actually got ousted by co-founder Ev Williams at one point.
Well, that's Silicon Valley for you.
Yeah.
I mean, Dorsey had the vision, but maybe not the business savvy that investors were looking for.
Right.
And remember, this was when Facebook was just exploding, adding millions of users every quarter. And Twitter was struggling to keep pace. And that kind of pressure can lead to some tough choices.
Absolutely. Talk about an identity crisis.
Yeah.
Twitter was trying to figure out what it was. Was it a news platform?
Right.
Was it a social network?
Yeah.
Was it a celebrity playground?
Yeah.
And the book talks about how this internal struggle played out against the backdrop of the Trump era.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a whole other level of complicated.
Hold on to your hats because
Okay.
things are about to get really interesting.
Okay, I'm ready. Wagner doesn't hold back on the details.
He doesn't.
He talks about specific incidents, like that infamous #CrookedHillary
Yeah.
emoji
Right.
that the Trump campaign pushed for,
Yeah.
which many saw as, blatantly disrespectful.
Yeah.
And it really put Twitter in a tough spot.
Absolutely. I mean, that situation was a microcosm of the larger issue,
Right.
How do you balance free speech with responsible content moderation?
Yeah.
And Twitter was under pressure from both sides.
Oh, for sure.
Of the political spectrum, and Dorsey's approach of let the public decide just wasn't cutting it anymore.
All right.
Especially when you're dealing with a figure like Trump,
Yeah.
who was a master at using Twitter for his own agenda.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The book really captures those internal debates.
Yeah.
The pressure that Twitter was facing is like they were trying to build a plane while it was already in the air.
It really is. And to make things even more challenging,
Yeah.
they were battling for profitability.
Yeah.
User growth was sluggish.
Yeah.
And those attempts to sell the company to Disney and Salesforce,
Yeah.
total flops.
Yeah. It was a tough time, no doubt.
Yeah, and then there's this what if moment with Vine,
Oh, yeah.
Twitter's short form video app.
Right.
They shut it down, and what happens?
Yeah.
TikTok explodes a few years later using a very similar format.
Right.
Talk about a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they had a crystal ball hidden somewhere.
Right.
But amidst all this turmoil, Dorsey was doubling down on his, let's call it, unique lifestyle.
Yeah.
That #OneTeam employee retreat with fireworks and a $30 million price tag.
Yeah.
Some people saw that as tone deaf, considering Twitter's financial struggles.
It definitely raised eyebrows, but it also reveals a lot about Dorsey's leadership style. He was trying to create this strong internal culture, even if it came with a hefty price tag.
Right.
I mean, he truly believed in the power of Twitter to connect people.
Yeah.
And to change the world, and that came through in everything he did.
Right. And then enters Elon Musk,
Oh, yeah.
already a power user,
Of course.
but becoming increasingly vocal about what he saw as censorship on the platform.
Right.
And this wasn't just some billionaire with a Twitter habit. He had big ideas about free speech
Yeah.
and the future of online communication.
For sure, buckle up, because with Musk, things rarely go as planned.
I know, right?
I mean, his surprise bid to buy the company,
Yeah.
the board's initial pushback,
Yeah.
the whole saga that unfolded. It's like a Shakespearean drama set in Silicon Valley.
I can't wait to hear how this all plays out. But before we get to that,
Yeah.
I want to go back to Dorsey for a minute.
Okay.
Because the book mentions how he and Musk actually saw eye to eye on a lot of things.
That's right. Dorsey saw Musk's interest in Twitter as a chance to break free from Wall Street's influence.
Oh, wow.
And the limitations of the ad model.
Huh?
He believed in a more decentralized platform,
Right.
one that wasn't driven solely by profit.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, Musk was the disruptor that Dorsey wished he could be.
So from Zen CEO to tech titan, Twitter's story is already one for the books. But with Musk at the helm,
Right.
things are about to get even more interesting.
That's an understatement. Get ready for a wild ride, because the Musk takeover is where things really take off. Remember those early tweets where Musk was practically trolling Twitter? You know, he was publicly criticizing their policies, even joking about dropping the W from their name.
Right.
It was classic Musk.
Yeah.
Provocative and unpredictable and impossible to ignore, but no one could have predicted what was coming next.
It's almost like he was testing the waters,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
seeing how far he could push things, and then boom,
Boom.
he drops this bombshell bid to buy the entire company.
All right.
It was a power move straight out of a Silicon Valley playbook.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is that Musk's offer wasn't just about money.
Right.
It was deeply personal. He genuinely believed that Twitter was stifling free speech
Yeah.
and saw himself as the one to liberate it. I mean, remember, this is the guy who founded Tesla and SpaceX,
Right.
companies built on pushing boundaries and challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
He saw Twitter as this critical platform for global communication, and he wanted to unlock its full potential.
And the book does a great job of showing that clash between idealism and ambition.
Yeah,
You know, it shares those text messages between Musk and Dorsey,
right.
where they're talking about building a more open and decentralized Twitter.
Yeah,
Dorsey was clearly on board.
he was.
He saw Musk as a kindred spirit.
Dorsey was tired of the pressure from Wall Street, from the ad model he felt was holding Twitter back.
Right.
He wanted to create something truly revolutionary, and he believed Musk was the one to do it.
But this wasn't some smooth transition of power.
Oh, no.
Remember when Musk tried to pull out of the deal, claiming Twitter was lying about the number of bot accounts?
Oh, yeah?
I mean, it sent shockwaves through the market
Yeah.
and led to this crazy legal battle.
It was like watching a high-stakes poker game unfold in real time.
Right.
Musk used his leverage, his unpredictable nature, to force Twitter's hand.
Totally.
That tweet where he put the deal temporarily on hold, pure genius, or maybe just pure chaos. Either way, it worked.
The book describes this disastrous meeting where Musk's advisors show up instead of him
Oh, yeah.
to discuss the bot issue.
Uh-huh.
And Twitter's team is just left scrambling, wondering if they're being played.
Of course.
It was pure Silicon Valley drama.
Yeah, and in the end, Musk gets his way. The judge sides with him, forces Twitter to go through with the acquisition.
Can you imagine the atmosphere inside Twitter HQ when the news broke?
I mean, talk about a culture shock.
Oh, yeah.
The book talks about the anxiety, the excitement, the feeling that everything was about to change.
Right.
And then come the layoffs.
Yeah. Musk's famous for his move fast and break things mentality.
Yeah.
And he wasted no time in implementing his cost-cutting measures.
It was brutal, no doubt. The book describes the emotional toll it took on employees,
Yeah.
many of whom had poured their hearts and souls into building Twitter.
Right.
Musk's management style was a complete 180 from Dorsey's.
Totally.
He was demanding and relentless, a micromanager who expected everyone to work at his pace.
Yeah, I remember that story about him sleeping at Twitter HQ during the takeover.
Oh, yeah.
It's like something out of a movie.
Oh, right.
That intensity, that drive, it's part of what makes Musk so fascinating, but also so terrifying.
Right.
And then there's the whole Twitter Blue debacle.
Oh.
His decision to sell verification badges.
Oh, yeah.
That was a game changer. For better or for worse.
It was a bold move, no doubt. Some people applauded it as a way to democratize verification, while others predicted it would lead to chaos and impersonation.
Right.
And guess what?
Wow.
They were both right.
Yeah, it was like opening Pandora's box.
Totally.
Suddenly, everyone could be anyone, and the line between truth and fiction became even blurrier.
Right.
And then there's the advertiser exodus.
Uh-huh.
You know, Musk's unpredictable behavior, his public feuds, it all created a sense of instability.
Yeah.
Companies started pulling their ads worried about being associated with the drama.
it was a huge financial hit for Twitter. The book describes Musk's attempts to reassure advertisers, even threatening to name and shame those who bailed. Can you imagine being on the receiving end of that tweet?
Yikes. It's clear Musk was struggling to reconcile his vision for a subscription-based platform with the reality of Twitter's dependence on ad revenue.
Right.
And then just when you thought things couldn't get any weirder, he renames Twitter to X.
Yeah. It was a symbolic break from the past, an attempt to signal a new era.
Right.
But it also felt like a desperate attempt to stay relevant, to generate buzz amidst the declining user engagement and financial losses.
Yeah.
It was like he was saying, okay, forget everything you knew about Twitter. This is something entirely different.
But the question remains, can he actually pull it off?
Right.
Can he transform X into the platform he envisions?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it?
I mean, it feels like every time you open the app, there's some new drama unfolding.
Oh, yeah.
But beyond the headlines and the memes, there's a real human cost to all this chaos.
Oh, absolutely.
And the book talks about how Musk's changes impacted users,
right?
Leading to a decline in trust.
Yeah.
And this surge in misinformation.
Oh, yeah.
Especially during sensitive events like the recent conflict between Israel and Hamas.
Right. Musk's hands-on approach to content moderation, his tendency to amplify certain voices while silencing others, created this perception of bias and inconsistency. It's like he was trying to play referee, but with his own set of rules that kept changing.
Yeah.
And that undermined the very principles of free speech and open dialogue that he claimed to champion.
Yeah, it's almost like he forgot that real people are on the other side of those tweets.
Right.
People who rely on Twitter for news and information.
Absolutely. And then there's the whole rivalry with Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, yeah.
The launch of Threads as Meta's answer to Twitter, or X as it's now called.
Right.
It was like watching two tech titans battling for playground supremacy.
Remember that whole cage fight challenge?
Oh, yeah.
It was pure Silicon Valley theater.
It was.
But it also speaks to the intense competition.
Yeah.
And the high stakes involved in the fight for social media dominance.
Absolutely.
I mean, these platforms have become such integral parts of our lives.
They have.
They shape how we consume information,
right,
how we interact with the world. It's no wonder these guys are willing to go to such lengths to win.
It's like a real-life episode of Succession, but with algorithms and hashtags instead of boardrooms and backstabbing.
Totally.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Wagner's book leaves us with a sense of unease about the future of X.
Yeah.
Can Musk achieve his ambitious goals?
Right.
Can he transform it into a profitable, user-friendly, and truly inclusive platform?
That's the million-dollar question, and one that no one has the answer to.
Right.
The book does a great job of highlighting the inherent challenges.
Yeah.
Managing a platform that's become so central to global communication,
Right.
to political discourse, to social movements.
For sure.
It's a tool that can be used for good or for evil.
Yeah.
And the decisions made by those in power have ripple effects across the world.
It's a sobering thought, and it makes you realize that the story of Twitter, or X,
Right.
isn't just about tech and business. It's about the very fabric of our society.
Absolutely.
So what does this all mean?
Well,
what can we take away from this deep dive into the tumultuous tale of Twitter?
I think the biggest takeaway is that this story is a reflection of our own evolving relationship with technology. It's about the promise and the peril of social media, the challenges of balancing free speech with responsible content moderation, and the unpredictable nature of innovation in the digital age.
It's a story that's still being written.
It is.
A story that we're all a part of, whether we like it or not.
Absolutely. And as we navigate this ever-evolving landscape, it's important to remember that we all have a role to play in shaping the future of online communication.
I agree.
We can choose to be passive consumers, or we can be active participants.
Right.
Demanding better, holding those in power accountable, and using these platforms to amplify voices that deserve to be heard.
Well said.
Oh.
We'll leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
What would Twitter have looked like if Dorsey had never been ousted? Would it have been a different platform? A different company? Would it even be called X?
Right.
Food for thought as you continue to navigate the ever-changing world of social media.
It certainly is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.